Hi, my name is Ben Hillman.
And I'm Conor Smythe.
And welcome to the Alternative Sports Network.
Today we'll be discussing the Diamond Cup, we'll have an exclusive interview with Dan Hansen of the Lost Boys, and we'll also be discussing the Beantown Brawl tournament here in Boston.
Now the Diamond Cup had some pretty top-ranked teams. Very tough competition over there.
Oh yeah, for sure. The top two spots were taken by Baylor and Lone Star, which both received byes in the first round.
Baylor and Texas A&M were two teams to watch coming into this tournament. Also, the Lost Boys out of California brought some exciting crowds.
It was nice to see a California team come to this tournament and really shake up the Southwest region.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Unfortunately, they were knocked out in the quarterfinals of playoffs.
Another big team here to watch was UT Austin, actually. They were the reigning World Cup champions from World Cup 6. Baylor and A&M were the two teams that met in the finals, and it was such an exciting game because it was kept within snitch range, which is 30 points for you that don't know.
Texas A&M came out with a win at the second annual Diamond Cup. We'd like to thank Eric Reyes of Texas State University. He was the tournament director for the Diamond Cup, and he is currently campaigning to be a part of Team USA for the Global Games in Canada.
We wish you luck, Eric. Recently, we sat down with captain and co-founder of the #1 ranked Lost Boys, Dan Hansen, for an interview. Here it is.
I was actually the second player on the team, technically. Michael Molman, who graduated UCLA about the same time I did, he played with UCLA at World Cup 5. He shot me a Facebook message being like, hey, I know you're still really interested in Quidditch. Let's get a big community team out here. Because there was an existing community team that was more associated with the Harry Potter Alliance, and that wasn't the way that we wanted to go with our team, or that isn't the same goals with Quidditch that we have. I mean, we really like all the teams out here and everything, but that's just not what we wanted to play with. So we started our own team. Got a couple UCLA alumni, got a whole bunch of Emerson alumni who were out here, and a few people from this little town called Lomita that had discovered Quidditch. And we barely got enough people to go to our first games, our first regional tournaments, barely scraped through, you know, beating the bad teams, getting smashed by the elite colleges like UCLA, ASU, USC always. At this point, like, I'll play anything. Sometimes keeper, mostly on this team, on the Lost Boys, I play as a chaser. I guess I'll use an example of when we discovered one of our current superstars, Tony Rodriguez. He was playing for a different team, and we just noticed his athleticism and his smarts with the game, and he really was able to see it as a sport and make just the way he saw the game was very different than most players. The way he was able to see passes, make everybody on the field around him better, like a real point guard in basketball, big offensive threat in his own, like huge defensive physical presence. And then the way we've developed our beaters on this team is they were originally chasers, most of them, and they're just the smartest players in the entire game. So they've totally revolutionized the entire position, at least that I see. Oh, I mean, I've been around for so long, and I've been a part of the IQA for a couple years now too, and so it's just been growing so much, so fast. Like, sometimes it's just crazy to think back to World Cup 3 at Middlebury when they were making up the rules on the fly. After every game, we would find a loophole. And after the game, they would be like, you can't do that anymore. And every single game, we'd find a new one. It's just so crazy to think of it working that way, and there wasn't really any actual refereeing, and now that's such a huge part of the game, and it's so, like, striving to be legitimate rather than whimsical, which some see as a bad thing, but, I mean, we're pushing forward fast for sure.
We look forward to seeing how the Lost Boys will perform for the rest of the season.
I'm sitting with Ryan Smythe, our Quidditch correspondent. He's also the tournament director for the Beantown Brawl. Ryan, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about the Brawl?
Absolutely. It started out back in November when I was talking with Rebecca Alley, who is one of the coaches of the GGs, one of the Canadian teams. And we were trying to figure out a way to get the Canadian teams down to Boston, because that doesn't happen very often, and it slowly, completely went out of control, and now we have a tournament from teams from 3 different regions, and it's happening this weekend.
Excellent. Are there any roster changes or any significant changes that have happened?
Yeah, actually, it's the GGs that have their biggest roster change. They're not bringing down about 5 of their players, including a keeper and their seeker, who has a 100% snitch pull rate. So Rebecca's kind of nervous about that. But they do have their other captain, Adam Robillard. I've snitched against him, and he's a fantastic seeker. So their biggest issue is going to be depth, not who they've lost, because they're only bringing 16 players, and over a 2-day tournament, that's going to really wear them down. So if they can keep their energy up, they'll be fine. Otherwise, they could start getting a little sloppier.
All right. Are there any specific games that you're excited about?
One of the big games that people are talking about is the NYDC Capitalists Tufts game, because at Turtle Cup, a tournament about a month or two back, they played in the semifinals, and it was a close game, came down to a snitch pull, and it was fantastic. And so they get a rematch, and I'm expecting most of the teams and spectators are going to be fixated on that. The one that I'm probably most excited for is the GG's Boston University game, because the GG's won the Canadian regionals, BU won the Northeast regionals, and the other great thing about it is the Northeast snitch coordinator, Walt Makarucha, he's the snitch for that game, and he's not going to make it easy for their seekers, and so it's going to be, both teams hit hard, Walt hits even harder, and it's going to be a physical game that I'm just going to love watching.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the Brawl?
The biggest thing I'm excited for is that the Canadians are coming down, and they're sending down 3 fantastic teams, and that really hasn't happened before. And since they're coming down to play the best teams in the Northeast, it'll be really interesting to see one of the older divisions playing one of the newer ones. And so I'm excited to see exactly where Canada stands up to America. And so I'm going to have a blast.
Wonderful. Well, the tournament will be on the 15th and 16th of February on Saturday and Sunday. 3 o'clock it'll start on Saturday, and 8 o'clock on Sunday, both p.m. Ryan, thanks for coming on.
Good to see you.
Great interview, Ben. That's all we have for Alternative Sports Network. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.